way. So the last mesh point is when you get married, the money comes together, right? Or
for us it did, but it's funny. I just talked to someone who said, my mother told me don't ever have a bank account with your husband. I was like,
I hear that. I hear the other thing. So that's why I'm bringing this up. Like y'all don't have to go into no crazy details, but you can keep it umbrella. Like what is the financial aspect of marriage, and how have y'all made that work? Or what, if you have any tips for any young couples, let's put it like that, for bringing finances together when it comes to marriage?
It has to be trust.
Okay.
I feel like.
Welcome back to another episode of Long-Term Talks. I am in a new destination right now in Jersey City. Took a trip out here to New York with my girlfriend, Angel. Hi, Angel. But yeah, I'm with two very special guests, two very special family members, two very special people in my life. And this is a highly anticipated pod for me personally. So, formerly known as Todd and Vanita Jenkins. But to me, this is Auntie and Uncle. Welcome to my show. How are y'all feeling today?
Good. Thank you so much for having us, Dante.
For sure, 100%.
Feeling good. Happy to be here. Can't wait to get started.
Nice. So I like to start off my show with, and from each of you, it could either be a word of the day, word of the week, or word of the month. So let me know, let the viewers know what word can describe y'all mental state, physical state, spiritual state, right now in your life. So whichever one of you want to start. So that's how I like to kick off long-term talks.
Yeah, I will start. I think for me, I'm challenged. Challenged is the word that I've been experiencing daily, weekly, monthly, and primarily I think it has to do with my dissertation work that I'm doing. I've been challenged every day, so I just feel like that's kind of, I've been stretched and challenged, and that's how I've been feeling as of late.
Okay.
I think my word would be renewed. This is the spring. The weather's getting nice. Even though I have a ton on my plate, it just feels good to know that I'm moving into a different season. And it's a time of change. And I definitely feel, even with feeling a bit overwhelmed, I still feel a sense of renewal.
Okay.
So,
y'all both chose good words. Do y'all ever feel each other's words, if that makes sense? Like, can you feel him being challenged? Can you feel her being renewed? How does that coexist in your household?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, both of us, have very full schedules. I can feel Todd working through his dissertation. I know he's challenged. I'm challenged too. However, like, there's so many breakthroughs with plants in the spring. I feel like even in the midst of challenge, we're breaking through, and we can definitely feel each other and what each other is experiencing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel Vanita's renewal. Her renewal is my renewal. And I think, we just started a 30-day detox.
Nice.
And that's part of the renewal.
Got a detox.
Yes. And, we're trying to start working out more as well. And again, as the weather and the seasons change, I feel that renewal. So definitely I feel it, and it kind of it bounces off each other, as you said. It coexists, where she's challenged, I'm challenged, and we're both trying to renew ourselves.
Okay. Yeah, and I think it helps in terms of how we encourage each other, because when one of us is struggling, the other one can help to encourage. So I feel like even though we're both experiencing the same thing, there's usually always one of us that can help uplift the other.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That detox, what does y'all detox entail? What are we detoxing from?
Yeah.
Because as we all know, we could detox. Food detox is not just a food thing. You could detox from the things you listen to, the people you're around, the environments you're in. So what entails in y'all detox?
Right. Yeah. Well, for us, right now, and it can grow, but right now I think there's 3 core areas that we're focusing on: no meat,
Okay.
no alcohol, and I'll say no sugar, or really like no desserts. So trying to focus on those 3 areas, and then hopefully we can expand from there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's important. Usually we try to detox at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
I have friends that do detoxes like with the change of season. So this is actually our first time doing it during the spring,
Okay.
and it feels good.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of the purpose of those detox.
Exactly.
I like to call it God body.
Yeah.
That's what when we detox, we get to God body. But just to give my viewers a little guidance and perspective on what's going on right now. So I wanted to bring my aunt and uncle to long-term talks because they have been in a marriage and also a relationship before marriage, and I would assume friends before the relationship. Since I was like 5 years old, all I've ever known was them being married. Their wedding is the only wedding I've been to date. So like we know, long-term talks is talking about things that are beneficial and even unbeneficial that has a long-term effect on life. And right now, I feel like this conversation was important because I'm at a point in my life where I'm taking my intimate relationship more serious, and I wanted to bring somebody into this space and so we can pick at them and understand what it takes to be in a strong, healthy marriage for so long. So that's kind of the basis of this long-term talk. So I wanted to kick it off with the how did you meet story. So I feel like I heard this plenty of times, but it's not ringing right now. So if y'all want to give the viewers a how did you meet story, I would love that right now.
Do you want me to start?
Certainly.
Okay.
Venida tells great how do we meet stories.
Okay.
Well, you can fill in the blanks. So I was at a track meet with what I didn't know was a mutual
Where'd you
friend.
run the track at? Sorry to cut you off.
So this was at the Armory in New York City, in Washington Heights,
real track run is that?
168th Street. It was actually a national competition, so I wasn't running. I was actually there watching.
Oh, okay.
And I was with my friend Mitchell and my friend Bunny from college, and the three of us were tracksters. Mitchell ran at Seton Hall. Bunny and I ran at Syracuse, and so we love track, and we decided to go to this meet. And so the three of us were hanging out. After the meet, we went to eat, and Mitchell proceeds to say, I want to introduce you to someone.
Oh, we had a matchmaker.
Yeah, he was a matchmaker. And I was like, no, I don't want to get, set up. I mean, at that point, I was, 36, and sadly, people feel sorry for you when you're in your 30s and not married.
That's crazy.
I was content being single. I was single and satisfied. It was all good.
Single and satisfied. Okay.
However, he felt the need to tell me about his friend named Todd. They went to college together, and I had been talking about traveling, and he said, "Oh, Todd is just coming back from Spain or somewhere for work, and it would be great if you would meet him." And he said, Venida, I really want you to meet Todd. He's my only friend who goes to church.
He's the one.
And I'm like, he goes to church, but does he know Jesus? Like
two different things, right?
So that was sort of like our little joke. And so do you want to pick up? He winds up calling Todd on the phone that night.
Right. And he says, hey, Todd, I'm here with Venida and Bonita, or Bonita and Venida. And it sounded like, I don't know if he was being funny or joking with me, but I just
sound like a singing group.
Yeah. I just went with it. I said, okay, Bonita and Venida, tell me more. And I think I remember Venida wanted to say something like, well, why are you single? And I said, why are you single? And,
that's a good question. Why are you single?
Yeah. So
That's
she asked that. I don't know if it was on that call.
It was that call.
It was later.
The first call, which was a silly question. I mean,
So-
to me, I felt like afterwards, I'm like, why did I say that?
We'll
it
get
was
to that.
awkward, though.
We'll get to that. I want to come
Yeah.
back to that. We'll get to
Okay.
that.
Yeah. So I was open to any questions, and it wasn't the first time hadn't heard that question. So, but I believe I answered it. I think I said, why are you single? And we went on to talk, and I think I said, let's talk, share. We should exchange numbers, and we went on to, talk for several weeks on the phone. And this was back in the day when, before cell phones per se, or cell phones are out, but they weren't that popular.
Pre-social media.
Yeah. So we had true, just kind of talking and wondering about, what the person's doing.
Right.
And, just kind of, it
What
was
they
a little
look
bit more
like.
abstract. Yeah. So, right, because we had never met. I forgot it was a true.
No social media.
yeah,
This was
So
2002.
y'all don't even know what each other looked like. At this
No.
point. That's
No.
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It wasn't no send me a picture.
No.
That's
Yeah.
a crazy
And we talked for
perspective.
3 weeks, and Todd's a great conversationalist, and I love talking to him on the phone, and we really had a lot in common, and we really enjoyed each other's like conversations. And then finally you asked the question.
So I said, when are you going to meet in person?
And
I had enough of these phone calls.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to meet him in person now.
I said, we talk great together. So now let's cut to the chase and see, how we vibe together in person. And so we set a meeting date in 42nd Street, we like to say, in New York City. That was our first meeting.
I was going to ask this question.
Location. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a black-owned spot called Soul Cafe. And it was on
it still there?
42nd Street. Not there anymore, but it was co-owned by Malik Yoba. And this was back in the day. I think it was between like 9th and 10th. And they used to have like a lot of events there. It was a really cool spot. So we decided we would go there. And we wound up meeting at like 9 o'clock at night because Todd had to work late and I was in seminary at the time. So I didn't get out till like 8:39. Okay. So we met on the corner of 42nd and 8th. And then we wound up going to the restaurant and had a great time. That was our first date.
Okay, okay. What was that feeling like? I don't know if y'all was getting off a train, hopping out a cab. But like, what was going through y'all heads? Like, all right, I've been talking to this person for 3 weeks now. Yeah. I feel like I like them. Yeah. But like, is there butterflies, nervousness, or?
It was definitely nervousness. You're standing on the street, 42nd and 8th.
Right, trying to identify the person.
Yeah. And you're trying to figure out which corner they're going to come around.
Right,
and you're looking at all these different people past you. So it was definitely a lot of emotions and butterflies. And I'm trying to think. Did we describe each other? Or how did we even know?
I think you told me what you'd be wearing. So then when I saw you, I was like, oh,
That
he's cute and preppy. I remember what you had on. Yeah. And we met. I think I shook your hand. Did I hug you, or I was trying to be super formal? I had butterflies for sure. Like I was nervous. I felt a bit awkward. It's like that first date thing, and how is this going to be?
Yeah, we all been there.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think I remember we shook hands. We might have embraced, and I was kind of like, let's. I knew we had to walk down the street to the restaurant, so I was just trying to keep it in stride. So let's get to part 2. Let's get to the restaurant.
Exactly.
Exactly. Let's keep moving along. And but it was definitely kind of a nervous, highly anticipated experience. But when we got to the Soul Cafe, that was kind of like more my comfort zone, kind of loungy, good music. And we kind of settled in and had dinner, had live music, and, kind of talked and learned more about each other.
All in all, good night for the first date.
Absolutely.
It was a phenomenal first date.
And then now we're here.
And now we're here. Yeah.
I want to circle back to that "Why are you single?" question. I've never heard that before. That's an interesting question. Because as you're in the dating realm, you personally, I would tend to think, why is this person single? I think it's a little different with y'all's situation. We may see people nowadays, may find them attractive and be like, why are you single? Like, that's the question. So to me, and I'm bringing this back up because you said that may have been silly, but to me, that question kind of makes the most sense, in my opinion, because it's like, what's going on? What do I not see on the inside that is the reason why you're not single? But that's also a assumption, because some people can just be to themselves, figuring themselves out, and just doing the self thing to make themselves a better self for another person. So take us back to that question. You said you asked that question?
I asked that question. Again, it was just...
You know where your headspace was when you asked that question at that time?
My headspace was, yes. I remember where my headspace was. The 3 of us were sitting in the car. I had no idea that Mitchell called Todd. I had no idea, and he hands me the phone.
I was a little blondie.
So I was just like, big time. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, hey, whatever, like, why are you single? Like, I didn't know what else to say.
That was the first thing that came to mind.
It was sort of like the first interesting thing that came to mind, but I think it was because, first off, I'm very clear that not everyone wants to be connected with someone, but because Mitchell was trying to hook me up with someone, then I had assumed that this person was looking for someone. Right. But maybe it had a lot to do with the fact that we were the ages that we were at the time, because a lot of our friends and acquaintances had already been married, had kids, been divorced, right? So I was 36. Todd was maybe like 38 or something like that at the time. So it was sort of like, oh, well, like, what's going on with you? But I don't, like when I think about it, and I appreciate like your take on it. But I still, am trying to figure out where my headspace.
Why did I ask that question?
Yeah, it was I just felt awkward and nervous, and I had a lot of nervous energy. So that just like came out of my mouth.
That
but I
could've
probably
transpired from all
would
those
not
feelings.
say that today if given that situation.
Yeah. For me, it was just as a single guy, one of the many questions you get.
Right. Said I heard that before.
Yeah, you fill them all, and it was one of those other questions that I had to get through, So I was like, okay, because again, like I said, when Mitch handed the phone to Benite, I wasn't sure, like I said, for me too, I don't even know where my headspace was or what I was doing, but I was just trying to roll with it and see where everything went. So
Going with the flow for sure.
yes.
That's actually a good segue. You made a good point about you said your peers were a certain age, and certain people think that we need to do this and that by a certain age, or whatever the standard, and I put quotes around that, whatever the standard may be, but it's different times and different strokes for different folks. Like, it's going to happen when it happens. Like, you just got to let things flow sometimes. But I know, correct me if I'm wrong, you two dated for 3 years before you got married. I believe you told me that. Talk to me about that time frame. Did you expect it to be longer or shorter, or is that something that you felt was supposed to happen, like that 3 year? Like, was that a standard for either one of you? Like, I want to do this in a 3 year time frame. Did y'all have conversations about that, or did y'all just let it happen naturally? Like, what was that 3 years up until y'all knew y'all wanted to get married? I know it was a discussion before you got on one knee. Even if it wasn't, like, let's talk about that as well. Like, that 3 year time frame before marriage, like, what was that realm like?
Yeah. No, it was definitely organic.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I didn't know. And I've always wondered as a man, like, when do you know is the time? That's always the question.
Right.
When do you know is the time?
Right.
So I didn't know when we started dating. I didn't have any idea how short or how long it would be. I was just trying to, have as many positive experiences as I could.
Right.
And even as I hear 3 years now, that seems long. It seems like it was shorter. Yeah, it seems like it was shorter. So I'm assuming that was because things were so good. I think we did have like a break.
We had a couple of hiccups.
We had a break in our 3 years.
Okay.
So we took some time off.
Okay.
And but we came back together. But I would definitely
that's how
say,
you know it's real.
Yeah, exactly. So so I think as far as the timing, it wasn't planned, or we didn't have much discussion around it. We were just kind of, I thought we were monitoring though, where are we moving? Is the relationship getting better? Are we doing different things? Are we, is it getting closer to something?
Okay.
Yeah. And we talk quite a bit, and I think we definitely had a lot of communication. But which is extremely important. So we didn't necessarily know it was going to be 3 years. It really kind of just happened organically. But I think we got to a point where we talked about the possibility of getting married. And then remember, we wrote out all the months. And we were saying back in 2004, we were talking about, okay, well, what if we were to get married? What would it look like? And then,
what is this? This writing out months? Can you
yeah,
elaborate on that? What is that?
Remember, we were like
vaguely.
We were writing out sort of like months when we could potentially get married, but it was the year before. But honestly, I felt in my spirit, probably the first year that we met, that we would be getting married. But there were some things that I didn't disclose. Right. Like, but from a spiritual perspective, there was really something special about Todd where I felt like he was the one.
Okay.
Right. But because we were still trying to work through just our communication, understanding each other, really learning who we were, like giving each other like a break, sort of pausing on a couple things, I just held it. And I think I wrote it in my journal.
Okay.
But I didn't disclose anything. But we really didn't have that conversation, I feel like, until later on, probably like the year before we got married. So it was quite some time before I actually shared that with him. Okay. But yeah, the communication was everything.
Yeah, I know that communication is completely important. important. Not even just in relationships. That's with anything. Sports, work, interactions, anything. But she made a good point about not a good point. Something I want to speak on. You said the break that y'all took. I know breaks come with boundaries, and breaks may have been a like a byproduct of a boundary. So in y'all relationship from beginning to now, like how important are boundaries or were boundaries, and how did y'all deal and establish those? And if you could let our viewers know the importance of it, because that me personally, boundaries wasn't even a thing for me until I knew what I wanted for myself. So it's not, you don't even understand boundaries until you understand yourself, in my opinion. So it's like, once you know what you want, you're not just going to fall for anything or go for anything, or just like, you know certain, you want things to go certain ways, and you're just going to stick to it. So how important are boundaries when it comes to y'all relationship?
Very important. Very important. We actually have a book called Boundaries.
Okay.
We got like a couple books called Boundaries.
Yeah.
That y'all read or wrote?
We read. Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you for
Thank you.
asking us about writing them. That's coming. But but we read. I mean, boundaries are important because it helps us kind of stay focused, and I think it helps us kind of define what's next, and and also I think it's helped us to kind of look at how are we going to spend our time, and how are we going to kind of protect our time together.
Together. Okay.
Yeah. So, because I think when I think of boundaries too, it's kind of like, what do we want to have individually, and then what do we want to have collectively as a couple?
Right.
So, I think a lot of times about, we're working both ways, individual boundaries and also boundaries around our relationship. But I wanted to go back to, when you asked the question about the break.
Okay.
Because it's interesting, because I remember it, but I really don't remember the events leading up to it. And I think that it was, so I feel like it was, as you said, we came together organically, and I felt like that was again, another type of break. And then when we came back, it was almost like a God-led type of coming together, where the way we came back together and how we came back together was really.
So does that mean y'all didn't think y'all was gonna come back together when y'all took that break?
I kind of didn't, because it was still new.
You didn't, or
no, I didn't.
Me too.
But
I didn't.
remember,
I didn't know. Do
you remember why we took a break?
No, I don't. But I'm saying I don't remember even like if we were going to come back together.
Right. Yeah, we didn't know.
This could be
definitely a 50-50 thing.
Yeah, because I remember, because we were supposed to go out, and then you didn't show up, so I felt like I was stood up.
Okay.
And then
to the bottom of it.
Yeah, and then we really didn't talk too much. And then remember, you weren't feeling well, and I was just like, I'm coming over to get my green picnic basket. Right. And then like he wasn't feeling well, so of course I still had to go to the grocery store and buy him some like fresh juice or whatnot, so then he would feel better.
She brought me some carrot juice.
I brought him carrot juice. I brought him green juice, green drink, and a couple other things. And then we had a good talk then. We talked it out, and then I remember there was another brief pause. I don't remember why, but I think it was just organic pause. And then you invited me out. I invited you out for your birthday. And then I remember when it was time to pay, because I was taking him out for his birthday, he said, no, I want to pay for you on my birthday. That meant a lot to me. And I remember the next day, because I was very nice gesture. I remember the next day, my colleagues in ministry, I remember right before church, like we're in the study chatting it up. And I'm like, okay, I had a date last night. Let me tell you.
Had to bring it,
I was like, look, guys. I was like, look, guys, look what happened. They were like, ooh, we like him. We like it, So I remember that very vividly.
Okay. Those could be the same friends that could have counted him out too.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm glad you asked about the boundaries. Did you want to say anything else about boundaries? I don't know if I wanted to say anything else. I was still like thinking critically about them. One of the things we try to check in with each other, around is like, what do we both need, in our relationship, and
Good
like,
point.
what does your body need, do you feel like taking a nap? Or like, I feel like jogging. Do you feel like jogging? Or I could go 5 miles, or like, what are you feeling like? You know, so it's like, are we going to do this together, or are we going to sort of kind of like set boundaries and really sort of kind of focus on what each of us is needing in any given moment? Mm-hmm. There's some other boundaries I can't think about. And I feel like because we've been together so long, and we, you know, have great rhythm, like I can't think of a lot, because I feel like because we sort of kind of like know
the boundaries will fall off. Right?
They're just there. Yeah, they're there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, Todd respects me. I respect him. Mm-hmm. He knows we pretty much know what each other likes, and if we do cross boundaries, then we have to like check in with each other.
Exactly.
You know, if we make each other feel uncomfortable, if we've offended, then we're just like, oh, okay, like I'm not feeling good about what you just said or something, like, you know. So yeah.
How is that at this point in y'all marriage? Like, I guess it'd be disagreements, or what I would like to call debacles. Mm-hmm. If y'all ever disagree on anything, and say it's like a disagreement with both of y'all, just like, this is how I feel, and it almost seemed like it could be no in between. How do y'all go about something like that at this point? Like, I know I would like to assume y'all not yelling at each other and
no, we don't like yelling.
That's
no,
correct.
I don't really like that either.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I couldn't be with anyone who like yells or screams, because it's like, you know, Todd has a loud, natural voice, mm-hmm. so we talk about that a lot sometimes. So there's like, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, you're too loud, you know. But then he's like, no, I'm just talking in my regular voice, right?
Passionately, yeah.
You know, passionately. But like someone who like yells and throws fits and stuff, like it's not like that.
It's a lot, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I would say we try to, as you say, understand that, you know, why can't we come together? Because a lot of times you have to communicate that,
right?
And then it's more. I like to ask more questions, and sometimes I find, you know, well, tell me more, and then the more you drill down, then I say, oh, I finally get it. Because I'm also, one of the things that I'm learning is how communication is so difficult. Because there's just so many, like, sometimes when I say I was thinking one thing, she was thinking another thing, and we didn't communicate it, mm-hmm. and it's like, oh wow, if I wouldn't have asked, or if she wouldn't have asked, we would have been in a total route, or we would have been in a total different place.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So sometimes when you say we talk about those debacles, how we handle them, I think we really have to kind of try to ask more questions and try to get more examples. Because even sometimes you ask the question, but then it's not clear still, and then like, can you give me another example? Or so
right.
He's good about that.
We work through it, because I find, and again, I teach, and I find with my students sometimes, like, they don't always get it on the first time, and sometimes I realize, why don't they? Then I say, well, wait a minute, just because I thought they should have got it on the first time doesn't mean everyone's going to get it on the first time. And I try to use that in our relationship, where I may not always get it on the first time, and I don't expect Venida to always get it on the first time. So,
right.
You know, try to. Is there another question, another way to ask it or present it? Is there another example? So that's really how I kind of think we go about working through our debacles.
That's a good point. Yeah, yeah. Or our intense, I forgot what my sister and her husband call it, some intense fellowship. Yeah, intense fellowship. So one of the things I was thinking about, thank you for saying that. Todd's good about asking the questions, and we do have to like try to figure out like, what is happening? Why are we uncomfortable? You know, how come we hit a roadblock?
Right.
And sometimes we may get to the point where we may not agree on something, but at least each person is heard, right? Like it's like we may not agree, right? So, you know, how can we sort of kind of like compromise on whatever it is so that we can move forward in our relationship?
Okay.
And then, you know, we celebrate when we have talked to each other about whatever makes us feel uncomfortable or what we need from each other, and then we both deliver. Like, that's good. You know, like, for instance, I feel like, and then sometimes things come up at different seasons in the relationship, like things that may not have bothered one of us at one point. Maybe you'll get to the point and you're saying, wow, like in this moment, I need this.
Right.
Like before it wasn't a big deal, but now I need this.
See it differently now.
So so we've been having a lot of conversations about holding space. So sometimes I'm like I'm in the season now where I just want Todd to hold space for me sometimes. Like, just, you don't have to like try to explain it or offer a solution or anything. just let me just talk, and you don't have to say anything. That's it.
Hold space.
And just hold space. So Todd has been doing that a lot now, where he's like, do you want me to give you a solution? Do you want some advice? And sometimes I'll say, yeah, I need advice in this moment. And then sometimes I'll say, no. I just want to just get it out. And you don't have to, I just want to vent, and don't try to make it better. I just want to be annoyed, be angry, be frustrated, and it's okay. Right. Because, and for me, it's like, I'm the type of person where I have come to the conclusion that people don't really like seeing me uncomfortable or frustrated. Right. Because I'm a nice person. You know what I mean?
I have agree. I have this
reputation.
I completely agree.
Right. I have this reputation, and it's almost like I can't express rage. Right. I can't be frustrated. I can't be furious, because it's not just Todd, but it's like so many people. Like, I notice, like, if I say something, oh, it's going to be okay. Like, no, like right now in this moment, like, just be with me in my rage, you know? So that's something that we're recently sort of like working through, or really have worked through, because like Todd's been amazing, whereas like he's asking me now. So that's something that we celebrate, you know? And I can't tell you that I needed that before, but right now where I am in life, I kind of need that now. And like next week, it might be something different. But the fact that he asks is a big deal.
Right.
And it took me a while to figure out, what does whole space mean? And I had
I like whole space.
Yeah, I like it too, but it's kind of a buzzword, which, you know, again, if you're not clear on what it means, I could have my idea what whole space means. So I really needed to hear from Venida as related to what is whole space means and what it look like. So again, drilling down on these terms and being able to communicate and getting examples. So she gave me some examples that I could work with, and I'm trying to implement them.
Great job, babe.
Yeah, that like I said before, communication is everything. Everything with anything, in my opinion. Let's fast forward a little bit. Not even fast forward. It's a bit of a rewind, to be honest. So, families. Not even just family. I want to talk about meshing. Because at one point, you two were individuals, and then y'all made a decision to bring everything together. So that comes with family, ideas, finances, living together, literally everything. So I want to start with the family. This is what I was thinking about, what I have jotted down here. So how did the families initially mesh? What was that transition like, meeting a family for the first time, or was it any like road bumps in meeting any other families? Or how did that go?
Yeah, I think it went very smooth. I mean, my family, you know, we tend to have, you know, like parties, Christmas party, holiday parties, get together. So it's always kind of was easy to bring Venida in to a party.
Right.
And, you know, introduce her to the family. And then, you know, we also like to host as well. So then, again, if we have events. So I thought it was very easy to, you know, introduce Venida to the family. And then I felt like most of my family members, or all of my family members, were able to embrace Venida. And the same on her side. You know, they all were able. I was able to go to different family outings and connect with her, you know, siblings and extended cousins and parents. So I think it was a kind of a nice transition.
Okay.
And I think a lot of it has to do with like our personalities and our values around family.
It aligned.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, they definitely aligned. I would agree. You know, I wanted to marry someone who had a high regard for a family. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not anything I was going to settle for if someone didn't have a strong connection with their family. And, you know, you all's family, you all welcomed me. Everyone welcomed me with a lot of love, even though I was, you know, of course, nervous and anxious about meeting everyone. But it was fine. I mean, your parents were loving, my parents were loving to you, and we were all quite at home. The highlight for me was when Todd flew me down to Tallahassee, Florida to meet Grandma Minnie, his paternal grandmother, your great-grandmother. And it was a big deal because he told me that he had a very strong relationship with his grandmothers and his grandparents. And, you know, for me, that was very, very special because I had a strong relationship with my maternal grandparents. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I just saw the way he connected with Nana, his maternal grandmother, and then, you know, his his paternal grandmother, and it was very impressive to me. And those were the things that I looked for in a relationship. And then the other thing is, I mean, again, we were older when we got married, and then sometimes people say, well, you know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks or whatever. I don't believe that to be true, because both of us were sort of open to growing together,
right?
Open to like coming together, knowing that like we would need to compromise on some things, but we were super excited about just what we had experienced dating, and we really felt like our marriage would be the next level, because we really cared so much about a lot of the same things. Like Todd said, we had the same values, like our faith was everything, family, right? And just loving life,
exactly,
loving travel,
exactly.
And, you know, really just being open to new experiences and things like that. So we both were about the same thing, education, empowering the young people.
Right.
And this was a big deal because I used to take my godkids, nieces and nephews out all the time. And then when I met Todd used to take out his nephews and his little cousins. And then that was something that we shared, because not everybody.
We had a lot of fun with y'all.
Not everyone wants to be around. Exactly.
Yeah.
And not everyone wants to be like schlepping little kids around, particularly when you don't have a partner. But like Todd was doing that. I was doing that. And then we came together, and then we were both able to say, this is what we want to do for our nieces, you know, nephews and godkids. Right. We both had the same thing. Not once are we ever like, oh, well, I don't want to, you know, well, it's too much or whatever. It's like, no, it's our calling and duty to pour into the lives of young people.
Exactly.
Right.
I would agree. Yeah, I would not take a page out of y'all book with that. My nieces and nephews, I'm trying to carry that the same way.
We see you.
Trying to carry that the same. Sometimes I feel like I won't be there enough, but I got to get there when I get there.
Right.
Make the most out of those moments.
Yeah.
Yes,
for sure.
yes.
So second point of the meshing is like both of you are college graduates, and your majors were different, right? I had different career paths and things like that. Was there ever any, I don't want to use the word problems, but I guess it's the best word now, lack of a better term, but were there ever any concerns there when it came to career paths? Maybe one person was doing one thing that you may not have seen align with the relationship. Was that ever, did y'all ever go through that at any point, or
No,
maybe a job had you away from the relationship for too long, or was that ever something y'all came across?
Right. I don't think so. I feel like our careers and jobs were aligned.
Okay.
At a point, I traveled a lot, and Venida was able to join me on trips, so that was really nice and fulfilling. And then when she traveled, I would be able to join her. So that was one way of being able to, you know, stay connected and not saying, you know, my spouse is gone for a week or 2 weeks, you know. So we were able. So that's a blessing too, because we had the financial wherewithal to be able to kind of
wherewithal.
Yeah, to be able.
I like that. I like that word.
Yeah, I learned that from someone. I
like
held
that
on
word.
to that one. Yeah, but we were able to, you know, make sure that one of us could come and visit. So that really helped our relationship, because I think it would have been different if Venida didn't come, if I was away for 2-3 weeks and I didn't see her for 3 weeks. You know, so that was great. And I think, you know, Venida's career, my career, I was in banking and finance. Venida was
I was just about to ask, what were you, what, and then for you, Venida, when you start speaking your point, what were y'all doing at that point, career path, like?
I had just gotten laid off from a publishing gig. I was an associate editor.
Okay.
So I was in seminary at the time, looking for full-time.
What's seminary?
Seminary, yep. That's where I got my Master's of Divinity. So folks who want to go into ministry full-time typically go to get some sort of like theological education and all that good stuff. So I was in seminary. I had just gotten laid off, and I was looking for just work in the field of ministry, and that didn't come to fruition at that time in the way that I thought it would. But you know, Todd was in finance at the time. I had a nice severance package.
Severance package? Oh, because you got laid off.
Right.
Copy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we were just very much aligned. I thought Todd was a Renaissance man because not only was he in finance, but he was an artist, an abstract colorist, and he had a masseuse when I met him. So I love to get
own personal.
Yes. Well,
that's lit.
I called her when I needed it, but they weren't like it wasn't like
That was your masseuse, though.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm thinking when I hear personal, it's like it wasn't like in my house.
But it was in her home,
At my
though.
beck and call. I mean, the massages were in my house, but they would come to my house. But,
right.
But I just say, when I think of people say personal chef, I
need one of them.
think of. Yeah, but
Nevertheless,
Speaking of chef, he was cooking too.
Yeah.
Hey, don't leave that out.
he
Don't leave
cooked
that
a lot.
out.
Exactly. So that was part of the Renaissance man, right? So he was an artist, finance. He cooked. He had a masseuse, and I was like, and he loved the Lord. So I was like, hey, I love this guy. So, and he would cook for me, and he cared about me, you know, and we had a lot of fun together and a lot of good laughs. And then the career thing was interesting because I remember Todd telling me about a couple of his colleagues who were their relationship was bi-coastal. So one was on the East Coast,
okay.
one was on the West Coast, and then they would see each other either every other month or, you know, something like that. And then
distance relationship.
long distance. And then I had an opportunity for a job. And because I said, I would never do that. Why would a couple do that? Why would a couple do that? And then we were living in Connecticut. I had an opportunity to come back to New Jersey. And sure enough, we were apart for 11 months.
That's not bad though.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean,
it
Connecticut and
kinda
New
sucked,
Jersey is
but-
not bad. Let me say that.
But where in Connecticut? Because the thing is, we were close to like 3 hours away. You know what I mean? It wasn't like New Haven or Stamford or Greenwich. We were up in Hartford. So that's a bit like a bit of a schlep. So I missed Todd, you know, every time I had to
11
leave.
months.
It was 11 months we were separated.
And this was
we would see each other on weekends.
On the
so-
weekends.
that was married at this point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
But I was talking about this other couple, his colleagues, and sort of like, you know, like saying that wasn't a good idea.
Because
I was like
because of what they
judging
went
them.
through. Oh,
right.
oh,
I
you
was
were saying-
judging
okay,
this
okay.
couple, and then we wind up doing the same thing.
You start judging them. It was like, let me give
I was
you a
like,
taste of
how
this.
can you do that and have a strong relationship? And blah, blah, blah. And sure enough, we do the same thing, and it was fine.
And I wanted to add that because Benita's mother, who's she was a psychiatric nurse, and I thought she was. She asked me when she first met me. She said, "Do you work
Picking
a
your
lot?
brain.
Yeah, are you a workaholic?" And I never viewed myself as a workaholic, but she was asking, trying to figure out, you know, what kind of stresses I had on me, and I was
question.
yeah, it was, and I was thinking that as your question asked about like our careers and how to impact our relationships. I think, you know, I'm thankful that, you know, neither one of us had jobs or careers that impacted our relationship, where most of the jobs I had the flexibility, and I had a schedule that was fairly routine, and it was a schedule that kind of worked with what Benita and I wanted. So, and I think you had jobs pretty much like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, but they were working you hard when you were working for a couple of the big four firms.
Was this at the point of y'all getting married? Was this the PricewaterhouseCoopers days?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you did spend some late nights there. In fact, I needed Todd to do something for me, like make a copy and have something bound. And I think we were at his job, honest to God, until like 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
Latest I ever did was like 7.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
But and people were there, like working.
Okay. It was like
People were there. Like that's the culture.
it wasn't out of the ordinary.
That's the correct.
Right. Yeah. And what they're going to say? Yeah. I mean, so I think. I mean, you know, a little hard work, you know, that's not so bad. But it just, again, I had the flexibility to leave. I mean, unless I had like a major deadline, but I could have went home and did that from, you know, I could have done that.
You had the leisure to step out.
Yes,
Right.
So that's why I felt like, if you
It's a little
needed
easier
me-
in the office, but I
Exactly.
could leave if I wanted to.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know that.
And
yeah.
I could have come back and finished it later, or if you needed me. So that flexibility was kind of.
No, you had the flexibility, but I'm just saying the culture was at 5 o'clock when a lot of people are going home, you all would be going out for dinner or drinks or whatever. Then you all would go back to the office sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was like Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes.
Yo, that makes me think. I'm about to move the field goal post right quick. At the time of that financial crash, 06, what was that like? What was that like in y'all? I don't know. Did it affect your relationship, or you at work, Uncle Todd? Like, how was all that?
Yeah. No, it didn't really. I mean, because again, I wasn't impacted, meaning my job was still in place.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously, I knew people that were impacted, and, you know, there were things going on around me, but I feel like the biggest thing was, if you lose your source of income, that kind of impacts a lot of things in your relationship. So I kind of feel like, to the extent that I was still working, there were a lot of things that were happening, to people I knew in the industry, but
Not too
that
big.
was kind of like a change.
Okay.
That was, one of those external changes that happened, but it didn't hit me personally.
Okay. Well, lucky you.
Yes, yes.
Anything? Were you good in the moments or?
Yeah, well, I feel like thank God for savings and thank God for unemployment, because around that time I wasn't in finance, but I was working on a grant at a university, and the grant ended, and the university didn't want to continue the program. So I collected unemployment, and that was around the time that Obama kept extending unemployment, which was a beautiful thing. So,
Wow. Obama,
yeah.
I forgot he was in office for 8 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
yeah, and then right. So we
he
were
was
thank
good. Y'all
God
was
we were
good.
good, but
Yeah.
and then thank God for savings.
Right. Okay.
So there you go.
Good segue. So the last mesh point is when you get married, the money comes together, right? Or
For us it did, but it's funny. I just talked to someone who said, my mother told me don't ever have a bank account with your husband. I was like,
So I hear that. I hear the other thing. So that's why I'm bringing this up. Like, what? Y'all don't have to go into no crazy details, but you can keep it umbrella. Like, what is the financial aspect of marriage, and how have y'all made that work, or what? If you have any tips for any young couples, let's put it like that, for bringing finances together when it comes to marriage.
There has to be trust.
Okay.
I feel like
Not even about the money, right?
I feel like first and foremost there has to be trust. Okay. I mean, I had my accounts, Todd had his accounts, and guess what? Now they're our accounts. Mm-hmm. They're everything is ours together, right? It's not like, this separate. There might be accounts that each of us sort of kind of like it's our main go-to.
Okay.
But if anything happens to either one of us, our names are on everything. Both of our names are on everything. Okay. Like we don't like have a secret anything. It's just everything is very transparent. And that is built upon trust. Right. And the reason that people are saying, don't, bring that together is because there's no trust, right, and there have been red flags, and you see certain things. So if you move forward with something, then there's the likelihood that someone may take all your money and leave, right? But it's important for people to really pay attention to who they're with, pay attention to who they're connected to. I'm not trying to blame people when things happen, but the reality is,
we gotta have people gotta have accountability.
Yeah. What were you thinking?
Yeah, no, I think we share everything, and again, as you were speaking about the trust, so I think trust is very important, and I think about maybe the time that we dated. Again, you get a little chance to kind of
build that,
see and see who the person is, and also see their financial habits and their ways, not just financially. So I think when we came together and we talked about like bank accounts, there's, as Venita said, we put our names on all accounts, but like again, she kind of manages like the accounts that she had prior to when we got married, and I kind of managed the accounts that I had before we got married, and it just kind of helps spread the monitoring, if you will.
Right.
And but it's it is a trust thing, and sometimes you have to learn in the relationship too. And Venita mentioned red flags. Like we haven't had any red flags to kind of say, I need to stop, or I need to feel like I need to protect this. And I've spoken to many people as well who've kind of said, there were red flags, and therefore I'll never do that again.
Right.
So we've been blessed that we haven't had any situations where we felt like, I better go get a separate account, or I need to go hide this somewhere.
Yeah, we haven't had that. And we pretty much check in with each other. Like we don't really have like rules in our relationship like that. But like if there's something major, we'll check in with each other because we both kind of like want to have some input in it.
Exactly.
However, sometimes we may not, right? So for instance, if I'm super stressed out, like something that happened like a month ago, and I was just like, I need to plan a vacation. Like I'm sitting here, I'm looking for places to stay in Martha's Vineyard. Everything is booked. I need to book it right now.
I'm out. I need
like
it.
I need to book it right now.
Right.
So before I even got a chance to tell Todd, he goes, "Oh, I see we're going to Martha's
Sends him my
Vineyard in
itinerary,
July."
right, yeah. He got the email. You're invited.
I see we're going to Martha's Vineyard in July. Yes, we are.
Can't even complain about that.
Right. So it's like love and trust. Like we both like laughed about it. It's not like a big deal because we both need a break, right? So, and I was trying to get something before, everything got booked up. So
okay, that's nice. I'm glad that worked out like that for y'all. I know I've heard podcasts and people talk about how marriage is just a tool, for financial aspects and things like that. I wanted y'all views on why was it important for you two to get married? Why did you want marriage? Some people get into marriage because they think it's a good business move. Some people get into marriage because they actually love that person. Some people get into marriage because they don't even have a choice, and it's because of their culture and where they come from. So why did y'all get married? Why did y'all feel like marriage had to be a part of y'all life?
Is this Why Did I Get Married?
Part 3.
What is that, Tyler Perry? This is not Tyler Perry. This is long-term talks.
Hey.
Good question, though. Why did you get married?
It's a great question.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was, I feel like it was something that I wanted. Long term, I wanted to be with someone that I loved, could care about.
Okay.
I wanted to, build family and just kind of, have a partner to share. So I thought that was a way to do it. Again, I think when I was growing up, it wasn't kind of like, you could do that with anyone or you don't have to get married. It was more kind of like, okay, well, if you care for someone, they're doing kind of like you see there's potential, that's something that, you partner up with and kind of work together towards. So, I mean, that's why I wanted to get married. I wanted to have a partner that I could share with, my goals, expectations, and kind of, build something together with.
This is also what you grew up seeing too, right? Like my mom and Papa were married before
for 50
you were
years.
born, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So that was something, that I grew up with. My parents were married for 50 years, and that's what I always knew. And I don't even think they've necessarily. Well, I guess it's kind of implicit in seeing it, but I don't think they kind of push. You got to get married. You got to get married. But it was something that I saw that I thought was an effective way to kind of partner with someone.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, for me, it was part of my culture, my faith culture, my family culture. Like marriage was something that like people did. You find a lifelong partner. I would definitely add on to everything that Todd just said. And it was really connected to my faith, like you are supposed to get married. You're supposed to live your life with someone. Initially, we did want to have kids initially. And then we got to the point after our miscarriage where we had to make a decision. Are we going to have kids? Mm-hmm. And we made a decision. We will not. And we're very comfortable with that. But it was still like, as you're growing up, you get married, you have kids, and that was, again, part of my culture is what a lot of people did. Unfortunately, my parents were divorced when I was like 6 or 7. And then they got remarried when I was in my 30s. They got remarried.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, they were divorced for 25 years,
Right,
and then they
right.
got remarried when I was 31 years old. So I knew that I didn't want to settle for any type of person because I felt like I did not want to go through a divorce, right? As a divorced kid, I didn't want to go through that. So I felt like I didn't mind taking my time. I was living a very fulfilled life. I felt like I would get married, at some point. And, I got married at 39.
Nice.
I do have friends who are my contemporaries who, are still looking to get married, still looking for love, and it hasn't come together for them. And, I certainly hope it does. But I do know that, not everyone will get married.
Exactly. It's not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't meant for everyone.
Mm-hmm. But I never had like the financial piece component, like that
Business
whole thing.
aspect,
The business aspect, no. It was definitely more like a faith, more of a faith aspect.
Right, like Uncle Todd said earlier about the buzzword. I think that's something that's like kind of going around now.
Well, yeah.
Marriage could be a business.
Yeah.
That, so.
I've heard it, and I think, again, it's like, right, what kind of business, right? There's so
like
many types of
what are we gonna
business.
do?
Right, and then every business is different.
Right.
And it's another thing, you're like marriage and income taxes. It can be a great, income tax deduction.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But
Again, it depends on, again, who your accountant is and
Right.
what assets you bring to the table.
But
So,
it's a great question though, because it's really based on like a patriarchal system, right? Where like I feel like men, when men used to own women and women were property, right?
Yeah, like
like
what is
still
the history
going
of marriage,
through, right? What's the history of even walking down the aisle of giving like your child away to giving your daughter away to another man, right? To be owned, the last
crazy
name,
perspective you're
right?
giving right
Which is
now.
why I keep my last name, right? Like people, it's fine. People think my last name is just Jenkins, but it's Rodman Jenkins. I kept my whole name, right? When we got married, Todd said, "You don't have to change your name. Just go by Venida Rodman." And I said, "No, I want to get your last name," and then some years later, here I am, with his last name as well. And people give me grief because they're like, your name's too long. So,
Well, I have a hyphenated last name too. So
yeah.
you're in the same boat.
And I have two last names, no hyphen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's okay. That is different. Correct. All right. Well, for our last point here, I want to ask you two a question. I want y'all to think a little bit about it. Love or loyalty?
I mean, for me, love is everything. And with love, loyalty will come. For sure.
That's a good answer. Sound like my answer.
Okay.
same for me, love or loyalty or love and loyalty. I think love kind of, through love, there's loyalty. So I think they
Facts.
go together. I don't think they're necessarily separate.
Okay.
So
Yin and yang, right?
yes.
I would definitely agree. All right. Well, this has been a great conversation. We're going to conclude this podcast. I greatly appreciate y'all for being on my show. Like I said, I love this space. Special shout out to KO Cafe. This will not be my last time here. This is a beautiful space. And we have to talk again. There's more. We could talk for days, and we've been talking for days. We just behind the camera, some lights, and a mic right now. So there will be more podcasts individually and with the two of you again. So like I said, I thank y'all so much for being here. This is another episode. I don't really know what number it is. I think it might be 10. But if y'all want to leave my people with any lasting words, and we can close it out like that, and that'll be it. So if it's a quote, saying anything that's on your mind right now, just let them have it.
Yeah, I feel like when people are meant to be together, I honestly feel like you can work through anything. And again, I just go back to the communication. I think it takes a level of vulnerability to be in a healthy relationship, and people really have to be open to growing together and moving together, and you could really have a good time. Yeah.
Agreed.
And my parting words are be encouraged. I like to use that phrase for many things. And, as it relates to relationships and so many other things, just be encouraged about what you're thinking about doing and where you think the opportunities could be and the challenges. Just be encouraged about the whole experience and move forward or not.
Or not. Got to keep it realistic, right? For sure. Well, see y'all on the next episode.
Thank you, Dante.
Thank y'all. This is fun.